Hey everyone, good Sunday night. Hoping everyone had a great day. Uh, Thank you to the people who came out to our open house. It was super fun to see everyone. And please God, we'll have a full asking offer. We hope. So, you guys, welcome to the Kosher Intuitive. This is your hostess, comedian, clairvoyant, intuitive energy healer, and life coach, as well as investment realtor, Yael Meisels. How the hell are you this Sunday evening? So, you guys, I had to hop on. I realized this show, which I understand, like the nature of the show isn't, it's, I hope to make it funny sometimes, but like this is not a comedy show. Where you'll see what I think my best work has ever been in comedy is my little stupid show, The Jewish Illuminati, that I don't even think it's stupid. I think it's comedy genius. That's my opinion anyway. Even a person who experiences rare phenomena and is clairvoyant for a living, when I tell you, I think the only thing gifted about me is, my love for natural, being a comedian. At some point, I want to have a rap career. My children don't support me in that, direction. So I probably won't spend a lot of time in it. But I had a moment today, not that long ago this afternoon, that made me laugh. Like, imagine God steps in, takes over your free will, and you just begin to laugh. I hate to say it, but like a Disney villain, okay? Like, you're laughing like you're Ursula, you're Cruella de Vil. Who's the other one? I would never lock somebody in a tower, and I love dogs. You guys, the hilarity of it all, okay? For years, as a clairvoyant healer, all right, for years and years, and you guys, I am studying as a paranormal supernatural investigator who has knowledge and insight and a heavy amount of education on rare phenomena. I want to touch on it for a second. Jewish people, hi Rivka, sending you love. Jewish people take for granted, okay, that there are organizations like Interpol, like Mossad, the FBI, the CIA, Scotland Yard, places like this exist. This is just a handful of them. There's governments in all lands, even North Korea, the land of the lawless. May God, bring these people a miracle because they so deserve it. But, all countries, you guys, have governments, which we know. And when we learn about these governments, we do learn about government programs. Like there's, conspiracy theories that I think are just seriously true about government programs regarding alien humanity. And also, like, when I meditate, the idea comes through as alien humanity, as in they're creations of our God, Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh. Anywho, my point in being, for so many years, I thought in meditation, like, and the only thing that it's like pieced together over the years is it looks to be like the reveal of Mashiach, Judgment Day, like we're talking the time, like mamash, immediately, like the Beis Hamikdash is standing. Let's say the Beis Hamikdash is going to stand by, let's say 6:30. This would be at like 8 o'clock in the morning, right? Same idea. This is what it comes through to me as a clairvoyant person. And I am someone who studies regularly the book of Yehezkel because I believe, as I've said ad nauseum, that we are living in the pages of Yehezkel. I feel like it's like almost inappropriate not to be reading Yehezkel. If you're going to watch the flippin' news, you should read Yehezkel too. For those of you who don't, for our Christian friends, Yehezkel is the book of Ezekiel. If you don't know which prophet that was, he is very important. And I'll get into all the reasons why he's important. But my point in being, okay, is that for years I would see lava pouring both, you guys, onto New York City, but it is like an intelligent lava, okay? Like, if you, like, for example, if you're not supposed to be touched by the lava, like the lava would do this and go away from you. Like you're like this looks to be in my meditation like an intelligent lava. And it's the lava is coming from the sky and up through the sewer system. And you know, when I first started having this vision, my first thought is like, is this metaphorical for something, right? You know, the lava could represent this instead of, you know, physical lava. And no, I still right now get a no. Like, hold on, Rabbana Shalom, does this represent physical lava? Oh, yes, it does. Is this a metaphor for something that is non-physical? No. Does this represent? Yes, it does. Fine. So again, I consistently get a yes that this isn't a representation to physical lava. So anyway, guys might find this hard to believe, but you can only imagine someone who has studied paranormal and religion for 30 some years. Sounds like a lot of fun over here. My 10th birthday party, by the way, ask anybody, Jamie M. and Tally Parker or Brianne, any of my friends who were there. I narrated Schindler's List because I wanted everyone to learn something at my 10th birthday. I'm that kind of fun. Like studied bar soap for 3 months. I'm serious right now. Anywho, so I was like, okay, so we're talking about physical fire. Now, I enjoy tracking earthquakes, storms. I do. It's fun. I'm in no way a meteorologist. I have a friend who is a meteorologist. Shout out to meteorologist Rachel. God bless you. But I find this stuff fascinating. I think it's so interesting. I like to learn about the way the ocean works. I love the animals of the ocean. You know, this crap, when my kids, when I'm like, let's watch a movie together, my children are like, out of our selection, you know, like, I'm like, who wants to watch Aliens? And they're like, absolutely no one, you know, because we're not talking when I say in our house, who wants to watch Aliens? We're not talking a fictional movie about aliens, you know, that my children might find entertaining. We are talking about a documentary on a specific species. I just find this stuff really, you guys, when you talk to me about the movies at the movie theater, I just don't know. It's not that I don't want to know. It's just not my thing. I really like to learn things in my entertainment. Now, listen, I'm not even going to sit here and say that I don't love Liam Neeson. Liam Neeson is my spirit animal. Liam Neeson and whales and lions. And dinosaurs. Anyway, those are my spirit animals. So, but Liam Neeson makes that list. I think he is a phenomenal actor. But I'm not a big movie person. So getting back to the bunches of lava in New York City. So this is like something that looks to be intelligent when I look at Williamsburg through remote viewing, which let me just talk about something really quickly. People with rare abilities, especially those who are Jewish, the Jewish people might not know, CIA, all of these government agencies, they use psychics. They do. They use people proficient in clairaudience, which is basically a fancy, well, it's not fancy, it's the scientific term for, you know, probably the highest level of mediumship, which is completely different than a low level of clairaudient, which would make someone a traditional medium. They use energy healers, gravity healers, people that can read frequency, things of that nature. CERN uses these people. Several energy healing companies. You know, I really know what I'm talking about. And one of my biggest clientele in the energy healing intuitive space, I would say about, 40%, 35, 40, maybe somewhere between 35 and 40% of my clientele is in the intuitive clairvoyant healing space. So I'm like the healer that other healers are consulting and hiring to sort out their, clairvoyant needs and their, supernatural paranormal phenomena needs. And I'm so thankful that I can be an asset to that community, because our community is so precious, because we truly do live to fix the entire world and not stop living, or not stop fixing and what, while we're living ever, like these are some of the best people alive, so I want you to know also that my business isn't about predictions of the future. When I have a client, which has happened, I fired a few for this reason, where they are really just demanding to know future events. My job as an intuitive healer, what I do with clairvoyant ability, understanding that God runs things, not the universe, not aliens, not this, not that, certainly not people. So my understanding is God creates everything. So just because I see something in a let's say psychic vision that could be a future event, whatever that is, I'd rather hear about what the client wants to build into their life, right? And then how do we use clairvoyant ability to piece together the healing and the support to operate on that roadmap where we're reaching goals, we're meeting goals, we're creating goals, and we're manifesting our goals, and we're praying about our goals, and we're growing in our goals, and our future, whatever that is what we and God create, rather than me giving you, as a psychic, I see. So no. And when I have visions and dreams of things like this, of what feels like, and again, I want you guys to understand, I am so dedicated to the book of Yehezkel, right? I got the whole Sefer, all right? When he comes back at the Tias Mason, I want his autograph. So I've got Torahs all over this biznatch. I've got, look over here. I've got the Minchat Yehuda, all full of prophecy from Yehezkel. Oh, look, we got meditation in the Bible. Again, all full of Yehezkel. Why are these rabbis so interested in Yehezkel? And these rabbis are real sages. And you all know, anybody who knows me, I don't like rabbis. I don't like them. I think most of them are charlatans. But you can't even consider that Rabbi Aryeh Kaplan, I mean, the man is one of the holiest people to ever walk on this planet. Phenomenal man. The Makubal, what is his name? I always get it. Rabbi Yehuda Fataya. From what I've read so far in this Sefer, what I've learned, this is clearly a gentleman who lived, it kind of brings me a little, kind of gives me a little bit of emotions, but clearly these people lived with the dire hope that they were going to do everything and anything they possibly could to bring about, redemption and Mashiach. And I think it is as a result of the labor of their efforts that we very likely are here. I think the teachings of these rabbinical figures, these holy, pious gentlemen, have really put us on a path to get us where we're at. And they should be forever esteemed and remembered. And please, Rabbana Shalom, when the Beis Hamikdash stands again and the Sanhedrin stands again, I beg that these Rabbanan are on that Sanhedrin. Because who in the world, look how they lived. I can only imagine. In any event, I saw in one of my most recent science explorations, watching science videos about the earth. I know. Like, I really enjoy this shit. Anyway, I've mentioned this a couple of times on the show, but there really truly is. I promise you, this is science, and it's recent science, by the way, recent science. There's a enormous, you guys. You have to understand, I feel bad for laughing, but when I think about the enormity of this pile of lava, okay, like, oh geez, Louise, it is like miles and miles and miles. We're not talking a traveling lava ball like this. We're talking like, imagine if this would be a little bit of lava. This would be like this amount, this amount of lava. I don't know, lots of lava. It is miles deep, miles wide. And apparently scientists have tracked this ball of lava just traveling legit under the earth, like seemingly smack in the path to New York City. Okay. And I'm just over here wondering, as someone who saw this recently, so this was a recent, by the way, scientific discovery. I just want to make that so clear. This was not and I love watching this shit, so I promise you can look it up in specifics to this pile of lava traveling northeast from the Appalachian Mountains. Maybe put like traveling lava Appalachian Mountains, whatever it is, in YouTube or Google, but look it up yourself. And I can't, and it's like traveling. They've tracked its movement, and I just spoke of what I've seen, what looks to be like putting Yeheskel, let's say, to life in my mind, of all this lava just everywhere. And I'm not saying that to be mean, you guys. This is truly what I've seen in meditation. And forget if I saw it in meditation. That's irrelevant, right? He saw it in meditation. That is relevant. That's why this is happening right now. This looks like, you guys, I don't know that I've heard from, again, for those of you who've seen the documentary on the people who lost their lives visiting, I can't think of the name of that specific volcano, but like, oh my God, may God bless these people who lived. But people lost their lives in New Zealand I think it was like in 2019 or something, or I think so, it was semi-recent ago. And I think there's a documentary about it on Hulu. So this giant volcano in New Zealand, had erupted, and people were, it was a volcano people could tour, and I guess it hadn't exploded since 2013. And that particular day, this volcano went banana crackers, and everything just went chimpanzees in the sky. And some very sweet people lost their lives that day, and terrible things happened. I don't know why. I know why, just again, from entertainment, and it's being explained to me in my entertainment, I know why lava would shoot up from a mountain, from an active volcano. But like, and anybody who's more, who's educated for real, legit in science, not just what they've learned independently, but if you could provide us with an explanation, a scientific reasoning as to how, and this is a legit question. This is not a challenge. I'm genuinely curious for the sake of all of our learning here. Why would just a pile of lava be traveling this way? I just don't understand. Like, what would make it travel if it wasn't intelligent? And then we have Rabbanan, like, and you have to understand something. I have no desire at this point in life to meet my heroes. I don't believe Rabbi Ruvain would probably like most of what I have to say, and I am not naive. However, I like a lot of what this gentleman has to say, because I think he's telling the honest to God truth, even when it's the God awful truth. This man is telling the truth. Like, he has mentioned in his incredible masterpiece of Torah entertainment and education, and I do mean entertainment too, because I mean, this man, you have to understand, I would have to, as a researcher and investigator and someone who works in the Jewish community, I would have to study the teachings on Gehenim, on hell, from Rabbi Yoran Ruvain. You can't learn a better lesson about hell in anywhere from any religion about hell better than Rabbi Yoran Ruvain, right? So Rabbi Yoran Ruvain, and please correct me if I misunderstood, but I've watched that documentary more than once because I just think it's incredible. And I've skipped to parts that I needed for let's say whatever I was doing to have a better understanding. So I really, I hope I'm not misquoting the esteemed rabbi, because I think he's, I think the world of this man. He talks about there being a level of Gehenna, and this certain type of demons, right, that would be in that Gehenna, and that it's this specific part of Gehenna of hell. And I'm going to use the word hell for the sake of our Christian brothers and sisters and our non-Jewish brothers and sisters. Anybody who need, because you might not know what Gehenim means, and I can appreciate that. So he discusses that there's a level of hell that is located on the earth, right? Now, I don't know. I am of the opinion, based on research and everything that I've studied, I am of the opinion that the earth is hollow to some degree. I think there's more to suggest there's, something hollow about the earth than what we have traditionally learned in science. And when I'm talking about that science, by the way, this was a narrative that was taught, back in the 80s. I don't even think science is taught that way anymore because of just our discoveries that we've had since the 80s. Just putting that out there. But I'm of the opinion the earth is hollow. And Rabbi Ruvain talks about hell, part of it being on earth. And what I'm seeing in my visualization of the book of Ezekiel, Yehezkel, what I'm seeing in my visualization of that meditation is a lava that looks intelligent. And then we have to ask ourselves the question, there is scientifically discovered a big ball of lava traveling towards New York. Is it an intelligent lava? I'm wondering if it is, because I don't know why lava would behave that way. Where did it come from? These are all questions that need to be asked, because regardless of what religion means to you, the science doesn't change. You know what I'm saying? And the science, and I'm a theologian, by the way. I know the Christian Bible. I know the Quran. You don't want to go toe to toe with me on Bible stuff. I'm telling you, your girl's been reading this stuff for a minute. Okay. You are not seeing things that are depicted in Revelation. You're not. There is legit no biblical truth down to the actual figures in which are worshipped as God, between the God of Abraham, which is the God that our Christian brothers and sisters and our Jewish family, believes in and celebrates. And then there is the narrative of Allah, right? Now, I think this Allah figure was an entity conjured by the sorcerer Muhammad. I think the man was a loony toony boony, not only just a pedo that married a 6-year-old, just throwing that out there. One of the many reasons I can't, and again, you guys have to understand something. I know that I might be saying things that are difficult to hear right now, but however, my people, like the millions of us, regardless of where they religiously hold and stand, okay, we are being threatened and having to, we are being attacked. People have been killed. We have been blamed on everything, just like in the 1930s. And I'm sorry, but I'm not going to be that Jew that just sits here and lets you people kick me and my family, my global family around, my Jewish family. I'm not going to let you kick us around. My Christian brothers and sisters who are being, brutalized in the Middle East and Africa. We are at a place where we have to band together, those of us who believe in, Yah, the God of Abraham, the God of Israel. We have to band together and stay true to that God at all costs, no matter what, because that is what we have to do at this point. Because you are not seeing the book of Revelation unfolding. The truth is, you are seeing unfolding the book of Ezekiel. Now, the narratives of the book of Ezekiel and the book of Revelation hold a lot of similarities, okay? So for our Christian brothers and sisters, I personally very much understand why, again, because I have knowledge of these texts. I've learned Torah for many, many, many years. So it's not to be like, I know more than you do. No, this is not about that. This is about our survival right now, because you guys have to understand Hitler's plan, which is the global, God forbid, jihad plan, is to try to come after the Jews first. Why? We're the biggest threat, and Hitler knew that. We've always been the biggest threat. Chas v'shalom. God, Yud Hey Vav Hey, forgive us and keep us safe at all costs for those of us who loved you. These people would be coming after the Christians next. The gays, the everybody's. This is not about racism. This is a public safety concern, because the book of Ezekiel is unfolding. Okay, the third temple of Solomon's temple, known as the Beis Hamikdash, okay, is going to stand, and the holy messiahs are going to be revealed. And I'm talking about Mashiach ben David and Yosef. You're getting a pair, okay? This is for real. It's going to stand like any minute. Like, I'm even wondering, is this the last Yom Kippur? I'm hoping it is. But I'm actually there. I'm wondering that for real. Like the way that I wonder, will gas prices go down? I'm serious. Like I'm seeing them go down. So we have to examine a lot of truths here. So when I tell you that I'm studying religion and current, let's say, biblical events that are unfolding, and put it under a parapsychology, science-ish, scrutinizing lens, and I can't deny that I truly see this. Now, there's a passage in the book of Yehezkel that discusses, I want to say it's 7. I think it's, I'm hoping I'm right. I'm hoping it's chapter 7, verse 9. I think it is. I'm not. I think it is. I'm hoping that I'm correct. But in any event, what says in this pasuk in the prophecy is that God is going to strip away silver and gold and people walking in the streets and things of this nature. It's a terrifying passage. All right. And when I learned this, my immediate thought in my brain, I'm saying like immediately jumped to, this is definitely referencing the Holocaust. No question. No question. It was undeniable. You know what I'm saying? You guys have to understand, there's so much to learn. I just don't know chapter and verse off the top of my head. I wish I did. Please God, I will. But if you put into what's it called? If you plug into Google, the Art Scroll Book of Ezekiel chapters, chapter 7, I believe Chabad.org has something similar where you could go through digitally, the book, the Tehillim, all Torah, I believe in Chabad, you can do that. So I'm saying there's resources here to read the passage yourself, but I'm like, that stood out so clear as the Holocaust to me, that it was like, Yehezkel's like telling us what is going to happen. And it did happen. It's not what was going to happen. It's what did happen. Let me just take a look and see if I can pull something else that I feel like may have already, possibly already have occurred. Let me see if I can pull something else. Oh, Lord have mercy. So listen, chapter 7, verse, this is like verse 10. All right. What like a divine miracle to almost like have happened in front of our faces. Okay. I'm just going to read this passage, and I want you guys to understand and really think about what I'm saying, because this immediately stands out to me as having something to do not only with the arrival of Mashiach, but with October 7th. All right. So, I'm sorry, excuse me. Say to them, thus says my Lord Hashem Elohim, this prophecy concerns the prince in Jerusalem and all the family of Israel, in whose midst they are. Say, I am your sign. As I have done, so shall be done to them. Into exile, into captivity, shall they go. Prince of Jerusalem, probably talking about Messiah. Captivity. The atrocities on October 7th. This is in chapter 7, Pasuk 10. And the prince who is among them shall shoulder in the darkness and leave. In the wall shall they excavate to bring out through it. His face shall he cover, as so not to see the earth with his eyes. And I shall spread my net upon him, and he will be caught in my snare. And then I shall bring him to Babylon, the land of the Chaldeans. But it shall not be, but it shall he not see, and there he will die. Then everyone around him is aides and all of his officers, and I will scatter in every direction, and the sword will unsheath after them, and they shall know that I am Hashem when I've scattered them among the nations and dispensed them among the countries. Now this, I feel like, is talking about October 7th, the exile, and I like, again, Holocaust vibes. I feel like in one pasuk we're hearing about, I feel like Babylon could be figuratively also for present day, because we have like a very Sodom Babylon vibe going on. You guys have to realize, we're being told in Yehezkel, we're being told what happens before Mashiach. And I'm wondering if what I'm seeing is what it would look like for real unfold in actuality. Because never in my mind or in my life, you guys have to understand something, what my hobbies really are, what I enjoy doing. I enjoy like the most ridiculous things. Like, I love collecting purses. I have a gnome village. You guys have to understand, I am not over here worried about doom almost like at will. These are like things I see in meditation and I'm like, ah, shit, that's for real. Like, I wouldn't even know how to envision a moving, like a fire chasing somebody. I can't, like, until I saw it in a meditation. And I feel like part of the reason that we are getting, probably identical, or almost identical, I would imagine, narrative to the book of Ezekiel could very likely be, in fact, I'm pretty confident it is, related to bad leadership and the leadership that we've allowed to be in charge of the Jewish nation. It is a very big problem. We talk, I mentioned this in the podcast the other day. We talk about Erev Rav being a problem. We talk about Amalek being a problem. But my fear is we're learning so many lessons from these rabbis that we have totally just lost complete track of the most important lessons that we should have been always paying attention to, which is the lessons of the Torah and the lessons of the Nevi'im, the lessons of the true prophets. These prophets, now I understand the eras are different, but battle would look different from then that era until now. Maybe at one point you would battle like this, now you battle like that. Let's just say whatever, right? But they annihilated evil, and Shaul didn't, and hence we are here. So we have to stop with this Christian narrative that it is our job to pray for our enemies when we see from literal scripture that the warriors of the Torah did not pray for their enemies. They were given a mission by God to destroy that evil, out of creation with whatever that task, simply was. Now, in no way, shape, or form am I suggesting anyone should have justification with getting violent, physically harming people. God forbid. I'm actually not. There are other ways to bring about justice and harness that hatred for the crimes, for the sins, for the evil, right? For whatever that is. And that hatred for Amalek, that hatred for Erev Rav. There's ways to harness those feelings and put them in a place that is productive, like becoming an activist, doing something similar to what I'm doing, helping people share their life experiences. How do we heal from this? How do we learn from this, this situation? These are the things that we can and should be doing with those feelings. That is what I'm doing with these feelings. And I also feel like, and I've said this before, if you want to call me Chicken Little for running around saying the Beis Hamikdash is coming, the sky is falling, whatever the case. I don't think the sky is falling, but you get my point. You're allowed to call me Chicken Little. That's fine. But good golly, if I'm right, you guys, like, it before stuff got really bad in Europe for us, before the concentration camps were being filled, things were terrible. And Jewish people, listen, I understand that you are like such sweet people. We are such sweet people that it is so hard to believe that like the people of Germany would do the horrible things they did. I can appreciate that, but they did those things. So unfortunately, seeing as how we have similar behavior now coming through in all over Europe from the Muslim community, we have to be very aware that when we don't take stands against evil in our own community, which I hope to be doing, please God, that is my intention anyway, then God forbid, punishes the whole Jewish nation, which we simply don't deserve. And I hope that God would keep the good and the righteous safe at all costs, no matter what. But we actually have an obligation to take a stand against evil publicly. Like, we're really supposed to hate it. And that's biblical in everybody's Bible, I'm afraid. Well, I don't know, not so much the Christian Bible. You guys have to stop praying for the bad people. Just hate it and harness that into something productive, and pray that God, punish them. Pray that God, seek out an immediate way to end the evil, whatever evil you're trying to pray away, and harness those feelings. That's a very productive thing to do with it. Especially advocacy is so necessary and needed. But I want to touch on something that strikes nerves with people, and I'm sorry that it does, but I have to be true to myself, and I have to tell the truth, and I have to tell let's be fair to everybody, what I perceive to be the truth. And why do I have real concern, right, in this being a problem? The rabbi known as the Chavetz Chaim, all right, focused entirely on, if you strip away the Torah to it, which I don't think this is a holy text. I think there's something sinister underneath it. A lot of people have died of suicide for not being able to share the things that have happened to them. A lot of people have turned to drugs, fentanyl, party culture life. That's what a lot of it goes on in the Hasidic community of the people who leave. The pattern I'm seeing here is that there's been so much emphasis, almost to like a creepy degree, an unhealthy degree, put on people not sharing the things that happen to them, lest they get someone in trouble with the law. Now, why in good God's name do we have laws saying you can't report another Jew? Does that sound sinister to anyone else? Sounds sinister to me, because I just have such a hard time believing the God of Israel would tell people they can't put a criminal in jail, when we see in scripture that even one of the highest prophets to ever live was wrongfully imprisoned. So we know that God understands what the prison system is. Where I was going with that, the Lord truly does understand where the prison system, what the prison system is. Man, oh man. Like, isn't it possible that God wants criminals in prison? Isn't it? We know from therapist psychology, the way the human mind works, develops, processes information, pleasant events, unpleasant events, and things of that nature. We have enough psychology known that teaches us those things. And what I just find fascinating is, why is it these pile of rabbis and this Chavetz Chaim character, why were they so focused on secrecy? Why was there so much emphasis put on not reporting criminals to law enforcement? I just don't believe. Okay, so and here's the thing, I'm not going to throw out, God forbid, all of Judaism or all of Chazal, because this man is, really probably really bad. And I'm really comfortable with saying, too much energy about this man is blah. It's dark. It's not a light energy that I feel, and very uncomfortable. And no, it's not his piety, because I can promise you this much: when I read the teachings of the Vilna Gaon, I cry. So you can't compare the two. Vilna Gaon is a very holy neshama. The Chavetz Chaim, I don't believe that he is. And if I'm wrong, I ask for the Rabbanu Shalom to machel me. But in the same vein, that when I've looked into Islam and the false Amak Shemo leader, we're not even going to dignify Muhammad as a prophet. There's no reason to. This man took a 6-year-old wife and started essaying her, at the ripe old age of 9. And now this goes on. In fact, I was watching a video, I think it was a week and a half ago, that broke my heart, of a 7-year-old girl who was married off. This did not happen in the United States. I think it was Afghanistan. I think it was Afghanistan. 7-year-old girl was taken as a wife and vaginally bled to death. She vaginally bled to death, having been essayed to consummate their Muslim marriage to a 7-year-old. This was a grown man. This was a grown man with a grown man's anatomy, contemplated, sealing the deal, I guess, with a 7-year-old bride who then bled to death. God, avenge her soul. This is what we are contending with. So just like, so angry. Just like I will never stop talking about the things that go on in Islam that need to stop, I look at the teachings of the Chavetz Chaim and I said, there's too much here to suggest this is pedophilia protection. There's too much here to suggest this was put in line to keep criminals, real criminals, safe, to intimidate victims, to silence people, literally. And there's also a belief, but I'm sorry, but I'm not buying it, you guys. Don't sell it to me. We're not buying it over here. I don't believe this concept of Lashon Hara, reporting crime. You have to understand something. Today, you'll have rabbis tell you that reporting crime is not Lashon Hara. All right. My ex-husband has a rabbi in his life that I have to deal with, and I can't stand this man, who believes me explaining to him the psychological and physical, psychological torture and the physical violence in my marriage to him. He considers hearing that Lashon Hara. The reason there's not court order out for my ex-husband to pay child support is because this degenerate rabbi has stood in the way of this man seeking justice. He's argued with the Macomb County friend of the court's office. This rabbi really has done that. This man is just going to get the wrath of God so bad. I hope, since there's a big ball of lava traveling to New York, can you send a little bit of lava over here? Do you have enough to maybe travel more northwest and come save us over here? I'm just saying, if there's enough lava to spare for the big ball, the big ball traveling from northeast to the Appalachian Mountains, could you maybe, break off and give some lava to my ex-husband's rabbi? That would just be, I would appreciate that. Thank you. If that could be done, I'd appreciate it. But the man is just a complete charlatan. It's the nicest thing I can say about him, and I've known him for a quarter of a century. I know this man too well to hear the nonsense of how good he is. I don't care about his hobbies. His hobbies are interesting. That's part of also what most predators, even if they're whatever kind of predator they are, usually have something interesting about them that pulls in a victim. So I don't even want to hear how this rabbi is interesting and therefore he's evil. End of discussion. Next topic. So, I don't believe Lashon Hara tore down the Beis Hamikdash. I believe the concept of Lashon Hara existing that was then taken and turned into lessons from this loony toony boony rabbi. I think it was sexual depravity. And I'm going to tell you why. There was fornication going on in the room of the Holy Holies. That is understood in everybody's Bible that these things did occur. That's sexual depravity. Not to mention the sexual depravity that went on. Not to mention the amount of just sexual depravity that went on inside the temple itself, inside of Solomon's temple, known by Jews as the Beis Hamikdash. Now, listen, I'm sorry, it is more believable, and in my opinion, true, that the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed not once but twice because of sexual depravity. We know from the book of Noah that the flood happened as a result of sexual depravity. And for our Christian brothers and sisters, I'm not sure how much you know this, but the floods, the flood rain that came down and wiped out, a percentage of the Earth's population. This was boiling hot water. This was not, like, oh, we're in the bath, or like, oh, this is cold. No, this was like enough to like scald things to death. Okay. And it's interesting because I've often wondered as a kid, talk about where my head was. I had wondered as a kid, because I didn't know in the scripture that the water was hot, like boiling hot. I had always wondered if they were cold in the ark and like what their heating system must have been. And now that I understand as an adult, from knowing more about the scripture and about, more about the text, I now understand that they probably kept the ark warm with the hot water. So for those of you who were curious ever before, I'm so glad we have our answer. I genuinely wondered that as a kid. But again, it talks about in Genesis, in Bereshit, in the story of Noah, sexual depravity. What went on between, how did Yosef get stuck in a pit, after being stuck in prison, after being thrown in a pit by crazy ass brothers and taken as a slave and then thrown in the prison? Like, how did that start? Sexual depravity. Paro's wife was a pervert, was a sexual depraved person, a machmo. Her husband, knowing she's a sexual depraved, a sexually disgusting person, still had to throw Yosef into prison anyway. And, thus then miracles occurred. So again, we see another story of how sexual depravity puts somebody in prison. And then let's see, do we have more sexual depravity? Oh, let's take a look at the story of Yael and Sisera. Let's just take this as an example. What is known about the warrior Yael from the book of Shoftim, the book of Judges? What is known about this warrior, okay? The things that are known is she is considered the highest and most blessed of all women and the highest, most blessed assassin. Now, you'd have to know Torah to know in the Torah, or in the Tanakh, there really is a most blessed assassin. Who knew that? So anywho's, when Sisera was coming to, again, to annihilate the Jewish people, there was a vision through Deborah, that he would be slain by a female leader. And the way it is discussed in the scriptures is that she was almost like said it hilarity, like, oh, this is really something, like, it's a woman who like basically hands his ass to him, literally. And so Yael is looking all hot and sexy. She lures Sisera into her tent, and gives him cheese and wine. There was, sexual action, sex to be had for, I believe it was 7 times. And then she drove a tent pin through his temple. I'm not suggesting anyone go abuse camping equipment, okay? You do that, you're going to go to jail. Nobody do that. All I'm saying is we have lessons, examples here of even when a person, it's like, obviously, how depraved would the world have to be, okay, for this to be an acceptable, righteous act to kill a leader coming to kill a bunch of people? Consider it, so think about it. We don't learn the story of Yael in a narrative where, God forbid, Yael is in trouble for the things she did. Basically, we're seeing in the story that God is showing us things are so bad. This warrior had to fight so dirty that this is what actually occurred to save people. We need to start taking that seriously and ask ourselves the hard questions. Have we, the collective we, those of us Jews who like look at Candace Owen and you're like, well, what in the HE double hockey sticks is this crazy pants even talking about? And then you have to look at the greater situation and say, well, there's Frankism was like the Jewish version of Satanism. God for, Makshema, may it all be destroyed. And I think Candace Owens a Satanist. I think it's like the pot calling the kettle black, especially with that like creepy form of Catholicism her husband's involved in and being friends with Andrew Tate. Like, really? Because the Catholic people I know would be grossed out. Just saying. They're lovely folks. It's time to start being it's time to scrutinize. It's time to wonder. It's time to ask the hard questions and demand answers. That's how we're going to get somewhere. I am wishing you all a wonderful Sunday night. Wishing everyone a wonderful and blessed work week going into the work week. And anybody who would like to donate to the cause, please bear in mind, I give thousands of free sessions and thousands of discounts a year so that no one who comes to this establishment is ever turned away. Thank you so much and wishing you a great evening.